And one of the nice things about that was getting family and friends to come and have a look, and they'd all look down and say, wow, look at that, I can see Saturn. And that kind of reaction got me excited about the whole thing. And you'll see the sensor,
Yes, this one.
So all this is, it's a sensor and a shutter. But it's been specifically set up. Calling this photography is not very good. We don't really take photographs. We make images, and we'll talk about the procedure later on. But you need to understand the full picture. So just looking at tonight on Stellarium won't tell you everything about Jupiter, for example. It'll be there.
Like, I'm quite curious, how much is this camera?
You try and do it with your hand, you're not going to get a wonderful picture. This takes a lot of time, but the result is worth it. A nice NASA picture of Jupiter, and it's beautiful. So why would I want to do it? Because I can. Because it's fun, it's exciting, it's a challenge.
Hi, Mike. Good morning. How are you?
Hi, Mutia. I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. Thanks so much for taking time for us to have conversations today. You joined Himpunan Astronomi Amatir Jakarta in 2023, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
What brings you to HAJ back then? How do you know HAJ at the first time?
Oh, well, this is also an interesting question. I'd started doing some of my own astronomy at home, which we'll talk about that again in a minute, maybe. But I think because I got involved in this, I was doing this all by myself, and I thought, wow, I need to find people who know all about this, because I knew very little. So I think I tried on the internet to ask to see, was there any kind of astronomy association or society here in Jakarta, and there was. And I think I probably tried applying, I tried to sort of get involved a little bit earlier, and that communication didn't seem to work out. But then at the end, I think at the end of 2022, we got in touch. And I got interviewed. It was a very tough interview, I can tell you. And then I was invited to join, and I must say I'm so happy about it, because I've met so many great people like yourself and many others, and some of them very, very expert astronomers with very, very good background, and I've learned a lot. So it's just joining a community that can help me with this hobby that I've got involved with, but it almost becomes like more than a hobby. But yeah, no. So that's a little bit about where I started with HAJ.
But you say that you are interested in astrophotography. I'm just curious, like, do you have like background on photography previously, or join kind of community on photography previously?
Yes, I think photography for me has been a hobby I've been involved with for quite a long time. And in fact, I brought something here just to show you.
Okay.
This is a camera, as you can see, and this was my first ever camera. I bought that when I was a teenager. So that means this camera is almost 60 years old. Of course, it's a camera that uses film.
Yeah, yes.
It would be very difficult to use it for astrophotography these days. But this is the camera that got me interested. So this is a rather important one. I've kept it all these years. I never use it anymore. I think it probably still works. But
still works.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you ever use this for astrophotography?
No, it wouldn't be possible.
It wouldn't be possible?
Not really.
Even you change the lenses?
No, but it's more to do with the sensors, and of course you're using film.
Yes.
And of course, in many years gone by, early astronomy was done by observing on photographic plates, but this is very different to what I can do with this. So no, this one not useful.
Not useful.
Not for astrophotography. No.
But you ever tried astrophotography back in England?
No,
right?
never
started there. Okay.
Not at all.
Oh, so you just like found the hobbies here in Indonesia?
Yes, indeed.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about it later, about the cameras and things. That's very cool. But I'm just curious, how did you start this hobby of astrophotography?
Well, that's another interesting question. So, I have to blame COVID.
Oh, okay.
I mean, COVID was a terrible, terrible thing for all of us, and many negative things, but there are also some positive things. And for me, one positive thing was that in the year 2020, first of all, the skies of Jakarta were very clean and clear because not many people were driving around and people were staying at home. And in that particular year, we had Jupiter and Saturn very close together in the sky, very close. So we had these two bright dots there, and I felt that I wanted to start to understand a bit more about it. So I then bought myself a telescope, actually through Amazon. It arrived from Amazon.
Yes.
I had no mount for it, nothing like that. I just used a photography tripod, and I started to look at these things in the night sky, and I thought, my gosh, this is so special, because the telescope I got was very much like the sky watches that we have here that we use. And you can see the planets very nicely in them. And one of the nice things about that was getting family and friends to come and have a look, and they'd all look down and say, wow, look at that, I can see Saturn. And that kind of reaction got me excited about the whole thing. And then I thought, well, I can look at these things, but wouldn't it be nice to make some images?
Oh.
So then I started the procedure and adventure in getting involved in how to take pictures of these things. So that came next. Yeah.
So you brought new telescope and a new camera back then.
Okay, so to begin with, I got this telescope. Then I had to buy additional equipment to use it. I had to buy a proper mount, because a photographic mount is not very good. And I had to buy, I guess the first thing was, or the first accessory was to buy a camera. And so I bought myself a planetary camera, and I started to use that.
Okay. What's the difference between those cameras that you bought, but previously with like the usual camera? Is that the same?
They're doing the same thing, but they have differences. So in fact, we have one here. So let's have a quick look at this. So this one is a planetary camera. And I think, first of all, when people see this, they say, wow, it's so small, and is that all it is? But actually, it's a very simple device. If you look inside it, you're welcome to have a look. You'll see inside here, you'll see the sensor, yeah?
Yes, this one.
So all this is, it's a sensor and a shutter. But it's been specifically set up and, if you like, adjusted to be good for taking pictures of the planets.
So this is like special camera for astrophotography.
Yeah, and for planetary astrophotography.
Yeah,
you wouldn't use this for what we call DSOs, which we might talk about later, but or you could, but it wouldn't be very good. This is really for planets.
Oh,
for solar system, if you like.
Okay.
Solar system.
And you put this into the telescope, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. So in fact, when I started, what I did, in the telescope I had, of course, this is an eyepiece. So I think normally the eyepiece is sitting in what we call the star diagonal. It goes. The telescope is here. Yeah. So what you can do then is you can take this out of the eyepiece holder, and you can put this in.
Okay.
Now this is the very simplest and most basic way of doing it, but it works perfectly okay. So when I did my first images I made were done exactly like that. Very simple.
See.
Yeah. So this device already makes it very nice.
Make it very nice. We'll talk about the procedure later.
Yes, we will.
But I just like curious, how's the process of your learning journey back then? Learning about the astrophotography, you read in the website or something.
No, you're right. That's what I did. I spent a lot of time looking at the internet, mainly YouTube. There are certain people who have regular YouTube channels. Some of them are very good. Yeah. In fact, but most of the really good ones are more interested in DSOs. That's deep sky objects.
Oh, all right.
Technique is different.
Okay.
Luckily, there are a few of these channels also who are talking about planetary. So I decided, because of all sorts of difficulties with DSOs, which we might talk about in a minute, I thought I'll start with planetary imaging, because I could see it was much more suitable for what I had available in the way of the equipment. And the procedures also, I could see that was going to be easier to do here, especially in Jakarta. Because I started everything in Jakarta with the Jakarta skies, although the skies were better during COVID, they weren't perfect. Yeah. So with all these limitations, and from the research I did, I felt, okay, I better start with looking at the planets and trying to image the planets.
But what about the easiest object to capture? What planets?
Well, let's talk about the solar system. So really, if you're interested in planets, it is the solar system. That's to say our planets and some of their moons, and of course our own moon. Now, our own moon, as you know, is, when we look at it, it's large and bright, and it's a fabulous thing to look at. So probably from starting off, I mean, the first thing to do is to start making images of the moon,
Right.
which you can do in many different ways, but that's already rewarding, because if you make a good image of the moon, you can see the details of the craters and so forth, and the shadows across the craters. I mean, this is already very nice.
Yeah.
So that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
The moon.
Yeah. Okay. If someone wants to start the planetary astrophotography, what they need to know first about the planetary astrophotography? What's the important thing about the planets?
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. So, okay, so we put the moon to one side. We'll talk about planets.
Yes.
Now, I mean, I think, as everyone should know, there are 7 planets apart from us. There is Pluto, which sadly got demoted. It's no longer considered to be a planet. But anyhow, Pluto is too small and too far away for amateur telescopes to see. It's not possible. But the rest of them can all be seen by amateur telescopes. So, yeah, if you're going to, or you want to make images, in fact, calling this photography is not very good. We don't really take photographs. We make images, and we'll talk about the procedure later on. It's not like pick up a camera and go, Saturn, I've got a picture. We don't do it like that. We'll talk about that later on.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to understand a bit about the planets. So again, I got on the internet and I found some very good, more academic website where I could learn about the planets. There's one particular one, I've forgotten the name now of the gentleman who did it, but I remember he wore a bow tie. He was an American, like American professor kind of guy. And he did a lot of very nice 5-minute YouTube videos about different aspects of the planets. And I learned most of it from him. His videos were excellent. And the way he did it, he took the 8 planets, and he looked at them all together to look at their differences, their similarities, how they compare to each other. And this is a very good way to do it. And so I spent a lot of time, in fact, I looked at those videos many times, and I built up my own ideas from that. And then you learn some important things. So let's have a think about some of the important things. Okay, so when it comes to imaging the planets, I divide them into 3 groups. The easy ones. The easy ones are going to be Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The not so easy one is Mercury, and the very difficult ones are Uranus and Neptune, because they're just so small. Well, they're not small, but they're small to us, and they're so far away. So having first of all understood that, this means you know your main targets. And then you need to know things about them. And when can you see them? It's an obvious question, isn't it?
The time.
So you need to learn about when they're going to be in the night sky. This is the first thing to do. We have all sorts of very nice apps on our phones we can use for that, like Stellarium and things. But it's better to learn about it in more first principles to begin with. So let's just think about one of the most important things we need to know is a thing called opposition.
Opposition.
Now, opposition, in fact, there was a very good podcast about opposition. Pat Reski talked to Hannah about it. And I recommend anyone to see that podcast if they'd like to learn a bit more about this in great detail. But opposition is a point in time where we have, if you like, the sun, Earth, and a planet, and they're in a line. So in other words, the planet is closest to the Earth, and the sunlight is coming straight towards it. So this is what we call opposition. Of course, it's only happening for a short length of time. So we need to know when is opposition taking place, because that's when we're going to get the best images. As it turns out, for Saturn and Jupiter, you don't have to be too close to opposition. You can go 3 or 4 months, or certainly 2 or 3 months either side, and you'll still get good images. Mars is different. Mars, because of Mars' orbit is quite close to us. First of all, the opposition is only every, 2 years and about 1 month. You have to wait over 2 years for Mars to come back to be in opposition. So when that happens, everyone gets very excited. But then as soon as it moves away, it rapidly becomes very small. So Mars, I mean, and Mars is beautiful to image. I mean, the red color, all the colors and the shapes and everything, and the ice caps. So Mars is beautiful to image, but you have to wait 2 years, over 2 years, to get it at its best. The other slight problem with Mars is because our orbits are not circles, they're ellipses. And that means that when the opposition of Mars comes, it's not always the same distance. And just at the moment, every time it's getting a bit further away. So even at opposition, it's looking smaller at the moment than at the best oppositions when it's very close. But this is all helpful to know because this helps people plan and understand what they can see. So Mars, fabulous, but wait just over 2 years to see it each time, and for imaging anyhow. And then the other three main ones, the ones that we can see. Venus, Venus of course is an interior planet. It has an inside orbit compared to us. Now because of that, again, it's only certain times of its orbit when we can see it nicely. It's currently in the night sky. In the evening sky, at the moment, you look close to the horizon around sunset, you'll see this very bright planet, and that's Venus. And now's a good time to start taking images of it. In fact, I plan to do that. And Venus is a mixture because Venus is rewarding in some ways. It's the brightest of the planets as we see them, but it's got such a thick atmosphere, we can't see the surface details at all. Like we can with Mars, we can see all the surface details, but Venus we can't. We just see the cloud cover. Now, that means that when you take pictures, so far my pictures are simply white. I've never gotten anything better than that. If you're very good and you use some special filters and things, you might see the actual cloud colors a little bit. But what is nice about Venus is seeing how the shape changes. Because when we look at Venus, it's like looking at the moon. We can see it like a crest, a crescent shape, or we can see what we call a gibbous shape. We can never see the full circle of Venus because it'll be in line with the sun. So we can never do that. So Venus has its own special things to know about. And then Jupiter is really, for me, one of the nicest and best planets to image. Now, perhaps one thing, we may talk about it again in a minute, but with Jupiter, one thing to be aware of is it spins very quickly. Much faster than us. It takes 10 hours approximately to go around one full orbit, not orbit, sorry, one cycle, going round and round. Only 10 hours. So that means when you're making images, you must be quite fast. Because if you take too long, it becomes blurred. So you don't want to do that. Because you want to get all those lovely details of its moons and the great red spot and things like that, which are fabulous. But so you need to be aware of things like that. So there are things to learn about with the planets. Saturn, of course, everybody loves Saturn. Saturn's further away from us, of course, than Jupiter. And although it's a very big planet, it looks smaller. So that, again, you need to know a bit more about that one. One thing interesting with Saturn is about the angle of the rings. So, I mean, everybody loves to see the rings. And at the moment, if you look at Saturn, it's at the moment, you can see it in the morning sky, I think now, but the rings are close to horizontal as we see them. But as it goes around its orbit, each time there's an opposition, if you like, then the angle will be different. So from now going forwards, the angle of the rings will become more and more steep as we look at it, the way we see it. And that's interesting to know about. So these are all small things to learn about.
So if we want to take planetary astrophotography, it's not just about the planet, but also the circumstances, the events, also their period of orbit kind of things, right?
Oh yes, that's right. These things you need to understand them because then you know how to prepare. I mean, luckily again, if you all sorts of nice apps on your phone and similar things, it's easy to find out, but you need to understand the full picture. So just looking at tonight on Stellarium won't tell you everything about Jupiter, for example. It'll be there, and at the moment it's in a very nice position. But it's worth learning more about them so that you have a wider understanding.
So you make a plan on you want to take picture on that, like you make a plan on 1 year, a whole year, or how?
Yes, actually, it's a bit like that, because the first thing you're going to be doing is checking when is opposition, because opposition is so important for getting the very best pictures, especially of Saturn. When Saturn is at opposition, the rings just seem brighter. I don't know what it is, and even just a few weeks either side, they're not the same. So, yeah, I mean, definitely you need to plan on when is opposition.
Okay.
That's probably number one. And then with Venus, it's about what's called the maximum elongation. That's the angle between us, the Sun, and where is Venus, because that's got to be a big angle.
Okay.
Otherwise, we can't see it. It's too close to the Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you use like calendar, astronomical calendar?
Yes.
To see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
Let's see
everything.
this one we have in Haji as well.
Oh, yeah, there we are.
Okay. Okay, so you like see what are the astronomical event in the month?
Yes, yeah. I mean, this is a very nice calendar because it does give you information about what's happening.
Oh,
so it helps you a lot. Yeah, this is very nice information.
All right. Oh yeah.
So for example, you'll find information about when are the oppositions and
Yes.
so on, things like that, and you're going to have there are various important events going on there. Also, what's happening with the moon?
Yes.
Everyone gets excited about full moon. And different conditions of the full moon. For me, for taking images, actually, the full moon isn't very good. Although it's a complete,
Yes.
the sun is going straight onto it. So that means that you don't see all the nice shadows and things. It's actually, you get better images of the moon when it's about half.
Half moon.
And then the sun is going across the craters, and you get all the lovely shadows in the craters. And then, for me, that's the best time to take the images.
What about if you want to take the images of other planets? Do you also consider the moon phase as well?
Luckily, well, yes and no.
Okay.
We have a problem because when we have moonlight, it means some things are difficult to see in the night sky. But that's mainly the deep sky objects. Luckily, the planets are so bright, it doesn't really matter if the moon's there or the moon's not there. So luckily, it doesn't really affect planetary. It might do for Neptune and Uranus, but for the rest of them, no, it doesn't really matter. You can take it with full moon or half moon, or it doesn't really matter.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I'm just curious about you say that you take the picture in Jakarta with the sky light pollutions, the sky quality, and the weather as well. How do you think that those three things are impacting your picture?
Hugely, yeah. No, I mean, I noticed the difference. As I told you, when I started, it was COVID, and the Jakarta sky was particularly clean and nice, and that's why I started. And since then, of course, COVID has finished, and the traffic has come back, and the sky is definitely worse than it used to be back in 2020. But luckily, also for the planets, even the Jakarta sky, certainly for the bigger, brighter planets, we can still get good images.
Oh.
Not as good as in a place with a dark sky, but it's still okay. So again, for anybody starting in this as a hobby, and they live in Jakarta, they might say, "Oh, how can I do anything with the skies of Jakarta?" Actually, for the planets, it's okay. So they are bright enough that we can still see them here. If people go out in the current evening, early in the evening, they'll see Venus low down near where the sun goes down, and up here a bit they'll see Jupiter. So you can see them in Jakarta.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We also know there's a scale of bright sky and the dark sky as well. You also use that picture. I mean, do you often go to some places to see the planet brighter, to take the imagery better? Yeah,
that's a good point. In fact, some very keen astronomers will drive many miles to find what they call a dark sky site, right? So dark sky is when you don't have light pollution. And there is a scale called the Bortle scale, which goes from 1 to 10, I think it's 10, yeah. And this gives you a very good idea. So the Bortle scale number, let me get it the right way around. So Jakarta is the worst, which will be the scale around about 9 or 10, I should think, is at that end of the scale. But I mean, I'm lucky that I can go to Tanjung Lesung. And I have my equipment there in a villa that we have there, and so now I do a lot of my astrophotography in Tanjung Lesung, and there it's about Bortle 2 to 3. There is light pollution around, but it's not too bad.
Too bad compared to Jakarta. Right?
Compared to Jakarta, this makes a huge difference.
Okay.
Huge difference. Yeah.
Huge difference. Yeah. Okay. That's the like to see the planets. But what about the DSO as well? You can see like if you want to capture DSO as well here in Jakarta, it's possible.
It is possible. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, today we're talking mainly about planetary astrophotography. But okay, DSO. So just to get clear, DSO means deep sky object. So that's anything really outside the solar system. So it'll be star clusters, stars within our own galaxy. It'll be nebulae, which are mainly formed from gas, and they have beautiful colors and shapes, and galaxies. And galaxies, of course, are beyond our own Milky Way galaxy. And these are all lumped together and called deep sky objects. Whereas inside our own solar system, we have the planets and their moons. And so this is the area where I'm concentrating on, or I have been so far. It doesn't mean I don't want to look at DSOs. I have plans to do that, but there are differences in the way you make the images. And so just in a very brief way, it's like this. So planets are very bright and very small. So our technique is, we're not too worried about taking long exposure pictures, but we've got to take lots and lots of fast exposure pictures. DSOs, we can't see most of them with our own eye. They're difficult. We can see star clusters and things, but when we come to nebulae, they're difficult to see. And galaxies, you might just about see the middle of Andromeda, but because they're very dim. So when we take pictures of DSOs, we need a different technique. And the principal technique is taking images which are very long exposure, taking many of them, maybe over 2 or 3 nights even, and then we put them all together using what's called stacking.
Stacking.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the procedure for DSO. Now this needs some slightly different techniques and equipment compared to planetary.
Oh, okay.
In planetary, what we're going to be doing, we'll maybe talk again in a minute, but we'll take lots and lots of very high speed pictures, very short exposures, but once we've got them, we'll do the same thing. We'll stack them all together to get the best result. So there are differences and similarities, but they are the 2 main techniques being used by astrophotographers.
Okay, we're going to dig deeper on that. But would you tell us about the general process about the planetary astrophotography in the general ones? In
the general way?
Yeah, general way.
Well, just a few things about equipment. Okay, I think, as possibly most people will know, if they've looked at telescopes, a telescope setup has a number of main parts to it. We have a support or tripod of some sort. Then we have a mount, and the mount holds the telescope. On top is the telescope. And then we have certain accessories. Like we have things like finder scopes and other things. And we can then add our planetary camera. So this basically goes in the end of the telescope. So those are the main elements of the equipment. Now, when it comes to the telescope itself, this is where there's generally a difference between planetary and DSO, because what we need for the planets is a very long telescope, very long focal length, and preferably quite big. Unfortunately, this makes the telescope rather heavy and expensive. But the longer the focal length and the larger the aperture, the better, because more light gets inside the telescope and ends up coming onto the camera. So that's the kind of telescope you need. When it comes to DSO, you can use quite small telescopes because you're looking at a much wider field normally compared to what we look at with our equipment for planets. Yeah. So that's where some of the differences come. Yeah. But so what's important is there are a number of important things. When it comes to the other parts of the equipment, the mount is an important place. Now, if someone were to say to me, I want to improve my astronomy equipment, what should I do? And say you're starting with the normal manual setup that we have for HHJ's events, I would say spend money on a mount. The actual mount that drives the position and the direction of the telescope is really important. And we normally have these manual mounts where we turn knobs to get change the RA and the declination. But when you're trying to do planetary astrophotography, you can do that. My first images were done by doing that, changing those knobs and trying to keep the planet in the picture. But it's a bit frustrating.
Okay.
So to get that to work nicely, you want to switch over to a motorized, or what we call a go-to mount. And it should be what's called an equatorial mount, which is one that points at the celestial pole. So so this is perhaps one of the first areas to make some improvement. So is in the mount.
The mount one.
Yeah.
And it has to be like automatic ones.
Yeah, they're basically automatic. They still need careful setting up, and we might talk about the procedures in a minute. But yeah, so the mount probably the most important thing, and then there are other small things. Let's see. No, I don't see it here, but no, it doesn't matter. But I mean, finding ways to point the telescope in the right direction, that can be quite difficult. But there are tricks we can use to make that easy. So perhaps in a minute we'll talk about the procedure. But yeah, so equipment, yeah, it's all the same basic things we're used to, except some of them can be improved to make the whole procedure easier. Mount being number one.
Mount being the one, yeah. And you also use a computer to see the image as well.
Yeah. So what we do, we have this inside the end of the telescope.
Yes.
And so out of here will come a cable.
Oh, okay.
And that cable, you plug it into a PC.
I see.
Sometimes people are saying, well, are there any apps we can use with our phones? Not really. The very good apps to use are ones that go into a PC. So, yeah, I just use a small notebook computer. And then you have certain software which you can use then to capture. So the capturing of the image is done by software in your computer. So perhaps that's another important part of the equipment. So this one joined to the computer, and then there are a number of programs that you can use. Now, one of the wonderful things about this whole astrophotography thing is that almost all the software is free.
Oh.
Yeah. Now there are some expensive programs you can buy as well, but the majority of software is free, or maybe you pay a small amount. So when it comes to capturing, there are two well-known programs. One is called, we've got SharpCap. SharpCap. Yeah, that's one of them. And the other one is called Fire Capture, right? Something like that. Doesn't matter.
Capture.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the one I use is SharpCap. And what it does when you use this program, it's like you're looking in the viewfinder of your camera.
Okay.
You have all the controls to change things like the gain and various things that you can change, and then you use that program to control the camera to take the images.
To take the images.
Yeah.
So it's like the replacement of the eyepiece that we usually use when we didn't put camera in there.
Yeah, so rather than having our eye in there, we have this camera connected to a computer.
Okay. Would you tell us a bit about this equipment? What is this? Is it another camera as well?
Yeah, these are two. There are two here. I thought I'd bring two. The only difference is that this is a black and white one. Okay. And this is a color one. Okay. We can use either. If you use black and white, it's a bit more complicated. To be honest, I do most of my photography with this color camera, which is maybe you might say it's a bit lazy, because if you use a black and white one, you've got to use filters for the different colors, and then combine them all later. But which is probably going to give you a better result. Color is easier to use. One thing just to mention is that on this one you'll see there's an extra bit stuck on here. So this is, well, we sometimes call it a Barlow. This actually is a thing called a power mate. It's coming from a company called Teleview. And what this is doing, this is increasing the focal length of the system. So I didn't say much about that. You might say, well, what's ideal for things like focal length? Yes. Well, I would say the minimum focal length to get reasonable pictures would be about 2,000 millimeters or 2 meters, which is quite big. Yeah. Now, if you take our Skywatcher, our normal Skywatcher telescopes, their focal length is about 1 meter. By itself, a bit short. So you'd be wise to use one of these to help increase. So this would double the focal length and make it 2 meters. Yes. Now, once you reach 2 meters, the image starts to become bigger. So if we take Jupiter, and Jupiter, because it's the biggest of the planets, and it's in the night sky, it's normally the biggest image. Sometimes Venus can be bigger, but it's when it's a crescent shape. So if we talk about Jupiter, because it's such a lovely target anyhow, if you look at the size of Jupiter and you look at that focal length, then the size of the image on the chip. Let's have a look at the chip inside here.
Yes.
Inside here we have this little chip. It would only be about 0.5 millimeter across. It's tiny. So that's the size of the image coming onto the chip. That's why the chip is so small.
Yes, yes.
There's no point in having a huge chip. So if you use like a DSLR with a full frame sensor for planetary, to be honest, you're only going to be using the tiny bit in the middle. So because of that, these planetary cameras only have very small chips, and they have small pixels, so that you get quite good resolution. And there are all sorts of technical details which I think we won't cover today in this particular session. But there are things to get right, to balance between the various characteristics of the camera and the target that you're taking. So at 2 meters, your image will be about 0.5 millimeter across. It's very, very small. Very small,
Yeah, but this equipment is better to capture the picture of the planet comparing to the DSLR in general, right?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, if you're really wanting to become very much involved, I would say get these, because they're not too expensive. And DSLRs, many people have them already and they'd like to use them. And you will find people get quite good pictures of planets from DSLRs. You can do it, without a doubt. But I've never actually tried it, because I decided it was a good idea to get one of these cameras very early on in my in trying to, getting involved in this hobby. And so I've never tried doing it with a DSLR.
DSLR. But Mike, I quite curious, how much is this camera?
These ones, they're not too bad. I mean, these planetary cameras are, let's say, around about 5 million rupees.
1 million rupees.
About that, yeah. They're not like
so expensive,
not like you're buying an expensive DSLR. No, it's nothing like that.
Yeah, even that's cheaper comparing to the normal DSLR here.
Oh yes, yeah.
What about if the one want to start the planetary astrophotography, but just with mobile phones? Is it recommended?
Yes, of course. Yeah, no, definitely you can. And I think, mobile phone has an advantage that it also has a very small chip. So here's mine. It's a Samsung, but the photographic chip in here is small, and the pixels are very small. So actually, that is ideal for planetary imaging. But the problem is, how do you use it? What can you do with a mobile phone? Now, I think we did have a question about that, didn't we? Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about using mobile phones now, because you've asked the question. So what can you do? Well, the first thing, of course, you can do is simply take a picture of the night sky. And then, of course, planets will just be little white dots. But that can be quite nice. For example, if you've got 3 planets lined up in the sky, it's very nice to take a picture. That's worth doing. So that's a good starting place. Now, also there's the moon. The moon in these sorts of mobile phones, because you can zoom so much now, you can get lovely pictures of the moon. Now, if you're going to do that, and you try and do it with your hand, you're not going to get a wonderful picture. So it's a very good idea, if you're going to do that, is to use some kind of device. I'm not going to try and connect them, but you can put your phone into this sort of device, put it on a tripod, and then you can control the location, and once you have it in the right place, then you can start to take your pictures. But when you do that, it's a good idea, don't touch the camera. So luckily with these phones, on this little stylus thing, there is a shutter release, remote one. So, or you can buy other ones, you can buy little shutter releases for these. So don't do that to take a picture of the moon, because it'll shake.
Shaking.
So try to find some kind of shutter release that does it without touching it. Because avoiding that shaking will give you a much better picture, much sharper looking. So for the moon, as it is, the mobile phone is already very good, and you can get very good pictures
using mobile phones.
Now, when it comes to the planets,
Yes.
if you wanted to go further than just the white dots, you'd have to make use of a telescope. But you can still do it. So one thing you could do, so let me get back, here's our eyepiece. So let's just imagine that our eyepiece is in the telescope.
Yes.
So what you can do, well, in fact, what you see people doing at our events here sometimes is people try to take
Yes.
pictures and they wobble about and it's very difficult. But what you can do, you can buy quite simple little devices which will hold your phone directly onto the eyepiece. And then with that, you can put it into the, just put it into the normal eyepiece holder of the telescope. And this will work very well. What you then need to do, and perhaps when we talk about the procedure, you need to follow the normal planetary procedures, because you don't just take a photo. If you took one photo, it wouldn't be very good. You've got to take lots of photos. So to avoid taking lots of photos, you make a video. So I think we'll talk about that in a minute, how we actually make the images of planets. But this is a very good starting point. So that's the way to do it. Again, if people want to know more about that, look on the YouTube. There are some very good YouTube clips and channels with people who do this, and they get amazingly good pictures of the planets or images. So yeah, it is possible.
Yeah, it's just possible. Just to make sure that it's not shaking. Yeah, we needed
but that's when you're using the phone. Whoops, sorry, the phone by itself. Then you need to hold it in this. When you're using the telescope, of course, this will be held together by the telescope.
So we need like additional mounting there to put the.
There's a you can buy devices which hold this onto. I'm sorry, I've got one, but it's not here. But they actually hold them together. And then
that's enough.
Then you don't have to worry about trying to do it yourself and like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget the other thing. You still need to have that remote the remote device here, because when you start the video, you don't want this to shake around. Yeah. So a remote release is always going to give you a better result.
I see.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about the procedure yet. Would you tell us a bit about how's the process of taking pictures, planetary pictures, the procedures? Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. The technique we use, it's actually called lucky imaging.
Lucky imaging.
Lucky. It sounds good. It's lucky imaging. It sounds like you're not doing a very good job, but it works like this. So we got everything set up. We've got our camera in the telescope plugged into the computer. We've switched on SharpCap. So what we do, the first thing, of course, is to find the image. It's quite difficult. If you have a big telescope with a long focal length, then actually getting the telescope to point in the right direction is quite difficult. So to help us do that, we have to use what's called polar alignment of our mount. Now, what is polar alignment? Polar alignment is pointing the axis of the mount directly at the celestial pole. And I think it's something we might come to later on, but the reason we need to do that is that the celestial pole is not moving. So we want the telescope to point there, and then everything in the sky goes round it. Now here in the southern hemisphere, when we do that, it's going around in the clockwise direction. If you turn around and look at the north, it's anti-clockwise. Okay, so it's going around like this in the southern hemisphere, and because it's going around, if you say you had Jupiter, say this was Jupiter, like this. So as it's going around, it's turning. Well, it seems to be turning like that, right? So that means we need to have a system that can turn with it. And that's what the equatorial mount does, and that's why we have to have what we call a very good polar alignment. So number one thing to get right is polar alignment. I'd have to say so far I've not been particularly good at it. For us to see the South Celestial Pole, because here in this part of Indonesia, we're only 6 degrees from the equator, which means the South Celestial Pole is only 6 degrees up, which means we often can't see it. And even if you could see it, you probably wouldn't see the stars that you need, because it's so close to the horizon. There are other ways of doing it. I mean, to be honest, at the moment, luckily for planetary imaging, a perfect polar alignment is not so important. It's good to be close. It's not, but if you're doing DSOs, you have to be excellent. Definitely. So I try and I'll do it with a compass and an inclinometer to try to get the mount pointing the right way. And I can normally get maybe within a bit less than a degree doing that, which is not too bad, but okay for planetary, but for DSOs you need much better. It's not good enough. Okay, so that's the first thing. We've got to set up the telescope pointing the right direction. So we plug in our camera, we get the computer on, get up Sharp Cap running. And so what we then do, having got our image actually in the computer screen, it's quite difficult because we're looking at something very small. So as I think you know, the way we do that normally is to use what we call a finder scope. So the finder scope, we look down the little finder scope, and then we get the target into the middle of that. Then we look in the main telescope and hope that we can find it, and we have to move it around a bit. But with planetary imaging, it's a much smaller thing we're looking at. So the procedures of finding the target can be difficult. But there are some tricks we can play as well. Today I won't go into all the tricks, but one thing to do is to add to your telescope a thing called a telrad. Now I had got one here, I think, but it doesn't matter where. But this is like a simple aimer for the telescope, and it's a good starting point. So the way I do it, I have three things to do. I use telrad to get me roughly on target, then the finder scope to get me closer, and finally in the computer. And then sometimes you have to play around and search because it's a tiny target. Yeah. So once you've got it there, and you've got it, it'll be moving a bit, even with a polar alignment and a go-to mount, you'll still get some drifting. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't go very fast. So then you set up the computer and the software to take the images. Now, it's not really photography. As I said, we call it lucky imaging because we take a very, let's just say it's Jupiter. We take a very high-speed video, all right, and this video for Jupiter, maybe about 1 minute. And you're trying to take it with a very fast frame rate. And because Jupiter is very bright, it's not a problem in a nice clear sky. And this gives you a video. And the video file is what we call an AVI or an SER file, and it's huge. When you take a video, for example, of Jupiter of maybe 1 minute, it can be 10 gigabytes, this file. It's huge, yeah. So you've got to plan your computer space as well. If you have a night doing many images, which is what I tend to do, then you need to have plenty of space on your available on your computer hard drive. Okay, so right, so then you capture this video, and then you obviously you can stay in your computer, and you then have to process it. Now there are different ways of doing this, and normally once you've got used to certain software, you tend to stay with it, which is what I've done. There are many programs. Many of them are free. The ones I use are all free. So I use 3 programs. I use one called PIP, which is Planetary Image Preprocessor. So you open up your AVI file or SER file in PIP, and you tell it it's a planet, and you tell it what size you want and everything. And then what PIP does, it rearranges all of the images so that the image is right in the middle of the frame. Because normally they're dancing around. So that's what PIP does, and it gives you another AVI file. And then what you do after that, you go to another program called AutoStacker, which is now version 4, quite recently. And this is a very clever program, because what this one does, it takes the AVI file, and it looks at all of your, say, 6,000 images or frames that you may have got, and it puts them in the order of quality. It decides on the best one and the worst one, and you get a little graph of the quality. And so you might say, oh, I'll use 30%. 30% seem to have quite good quality. There's a little thing to help you with that. And then having decided on its 30%, you then fix lots of little dots on your image, which is all done nicely by the software, and then you stack it. And the stacking process is simply combining all of those pictures you've chosen, to improve what we call the signal to noise ratio. The signal is what we want, the noise is what we don't want. And so it takes a few minutes, and then when that's finished, we end up with what's called a TIFF file.
TIFF file.
And that with our TIFF file, which is just then an image, it's no longer a video file, it's an image file. We then open the third program, which is called Registax. And Registax allows you to manipulate that, because it won't be very clear. Even after stacking all those images, it's not perfectly clear.
Yeah.
So you then do this process, and it uses a system called wavelets. And the wavelet technique, which is a bit like magic, you apply this sharpening procedure using this wavelet system, and you just slide little bars along and then see how your image looks. And you can change the color combinations and the color saturation and things, all inside this program Registax. And it's quite amazing what you end up with compared to what you started with. And then you can save that as either a bitmap or a TIFF or a JPEG, whatever you want, and you've got your image.
Yes, and that's ready to share everywhere.
Ready to share, ready to put on Instagram, whatever you like. Actually, one thing that I also sometimes do, which I perhaps one more thing to mention, is that I quite like, say we got something really interesting happening with Jupiter, which is, of course, its moons. Maybe you've got a moon going past the front, what's called a transit, and sometimes you get the shadow of the moon, and this is just nice. So what I tend to do is to take many images, maybe every 5 minutes, and then I put them together in an animation. And it looks as if you actually see the movement. And I just find that a nice thing to do. So this takes a lot of time, but the result is worth it. And I like to have these animated results, because people can actually, you can see the planet turning, you can see the red spot moving, you can see the shadow going across the front, you can see the moons going around it. And that all makes it a bit more exciting, I think.
Yeah. That's creativity as well, I guess. I'm curious about the results, Pak Mike. Can you show me the picture that you have captured?
Well, not all of them, not today, but I think, let me just, okay, so the planets I've been successful with, I mean, I probably take more images of Jupiter than anything else. I mean, people might say to you, well, look, you've got a picture of Jupiter, why do you want to get another one? Well, the answer is, Jupiter is actually my favorite planet. Partly because it's nice and big and quite easy to image, but that's not the only reason. It's just that things are changed, they're always different. The position of the moons, and the moons going around it, this is kind of exciting for me. And so I just like to see the different arrangements of the moons. Luckily, there's a very nice app called Moons of Jupiter, which you can, and it'll tell you where the moons will be at any one time, or you can use Solarium. And I mean, those sorts of things are really good. And of course, you always want to get a better picture. So the reason why I can go to the internet and get a nice NASA picture of Jupiter, and it's beautiful. So why would I want to do it? Because I can. Because it's fun, it's exciting, it's a challenge. And somewhere in here there are a few, let me see if I can find them. Oh, no, I've gone the wrong way, I think. Here we are. So there we are. So this is 5 of my pictures put together. And so they are in the right order. So we have Mercury. I've only ever got one image, and that's it, of Mercury. Mercury is difficult because it's very close to the sun, it's very small. This is Venus. You can see it looks like a half moon. I'll be taking more pictures of Venus in the coming months because it's in the right position. Mars, that's the opposition before last. You can see the red and the dark colors, which are all the features on Mars. This one you can't quite see a polar ice cap, but often you can. Not really. This one. Of course, the biggest one here is Jupiter. I said I love taking pictures of Jupiter. Saturn, of course, also is very rewarding, but there's not a lot of variety with Saturn. I mean, Saturn is Saturn, and the only things that's changing a bit are the rings. It's got moons that you can get. They're quite difficult because they're very small to us where we are. And in fact, one of my favorite pictures is Saturn with 5 moons. It's not in this. It was in a previous calendar. So but you always want to try and get a better result. So that's why you continually setting up your equipment and Jupiter's in the right position tonight.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do.
So this calls taking, like you take the picture in different times and then you put that into one picture like this.
Yeah, well, each of those pictures would have been taken over. Well, these are individual pictures. I mean, it's only 1 minute. So this would be about 1 minute. With Saturn, you can go for longer because it doesn't have the features that we have in Jupiter. This one, you can maybe take a 4 or 5 minute video. Mars is also turning quite quickly, about the same as us. So Mars, you want to be quite fast. Venus doesn't matter. Venus turns so slowly that you can take it for a long time. But Venus is quite easy because it's so bright.
Yeah. Okay. But you take all the picture in the same year.
These ones, they're all. I think they were a bit different actually. No, they're not. They're not all in the same year. No. Yeah. But I mean, these are. I guess I provided these because these are some of my favorite ones and the ones I thought were quite good.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I mean, we can like do some more creativity into the planet imagery. Yep, that's cool.
Yeah. No. So I mean, I will continue to do this.
Yes.
I'm not going to stop doing my. It's a great hobby to do, and I'll look forward to getting more results. I'm always trying to get better results with the moons of Jupiter and Saturn.
Yeah.
Those are the two planets where we can get pictures of their moons. I mean, Uranus has got moons, and so has Neptune, but they're going to be so difficult. I don't think amateur equipment can do it. Mars has got 2 tiny moons, so I think for amateur equipment, you're not going to see them. Yeah. And of course, Venus and Mercury don't have moons.
I see. Yeah, we're going to talk later about your plan, the next plan on your astrophotography. But I think we have some questions as well from our Instagram.
Yep.
Yep. First is on the camera, specific camera built for astrophotography. Is there? You have explained it, but if you want to tell it more.
Yes, okay. Well, I think as we talked, we have these special planetary cameras which are not too expensive, and you can just join them with what you might call a fairly basic telescope. So that would be my main recommendation, but a mobile phone set up the way I mentioned using the Lucky imaging process. So if you use the telephone or the mobile phone through a viewfinder like this, you'd want to record a video, which in fact would be an MP4 video, it's a much smaller file. And then you could process that in the same way using PIP, AutoStackit, and Registax. You could use the same procedure. Yeah. And I mean, I've investigated this on the internet, and I've some incredibly good results doing this. It is possible. Yeah,
it's possible. So for the mobile phone, do you have any any specific techniques to take the picture on that, like setting the ISO, setting the professional setting?
Right. Yeah. I think for the planets, you can generally probably use fairly it's automatic settings. If you're going to take the moon, then it might be good to go into the pro settings, because the moon will be moving quite fast through the frame if you're not using a tracking mount. So if it's moving quickly and you take a long exposure, or the phone takes a long exposure, it's going to get blurred. But the moon's very bright. So actually the moon generally quite easy. And again, maybe the automatic settings are good enough, but if you want to play with it, go into the pro settings of your phone and adjust things until you get a good result. Luckily with these phones, you can take many shots and decide which is the best one. As usual, the ISO would be better if you keep it low. Otherwise, you're going to get too much noise. So try, but again, the moon is so bright, and something like Jupiter also bright as well. But yeah, just directly with the phone, Jupiter's only going to be a tiny dot. So yeah.
Do you think that there's specific applications, mobile applications, if you want to take the picture in the mobile phones? Like, is there difference with the ones that you work?
Yeah, there used to be one. So the idea here is, can I take this one, put it into the telescope, and then connect it to my mobile phone? Yeah, that's the question, I think, isn't it?
That's the question.
Yeah, I don't think there's much in the way of capture software to do that. There is one program from a company called ZWO, the one that makes these cameras. They have an app called ASI Capture, but it's no longer available. I still have it, And it's very basic. It works.
It works.
So you can do it. But to be honest, if you've got a PC available, far better to use a PC. But so that's the only one I'm aware of for actually capturing the results. So I would use a PC.
It's better to use PC.
Yeah, if you can, if you've got access to a PC.
What about the people that want to start it in Jakarta? I mean, is it recommended, in very light polluted places like here?
Oh,
do you have any
for planetary? Yes, no. For planetary, it's okay. Even though the skies are now worse than they were in 2020. I took some images of Jupiter a short time ago in Jakarta. They're not as good as in Tanjung Lesung, but they're still pretty good. I mean, people would be happy with them, I think.
Yeah.
So no, it's still possible here. Moon, of course, is easy in Jakarta. Definitely, the moon is good. We have to be patient with the clouds. We have to be patient with general haze. So in the dry season, we tend to get a hazy sky, and even Tanjung Lesung it gets hazier. Definitely try. It's a good starting. It's easy if you're living here. Try here first, but probably difficult for DSOs. Although people do it. People do get images of DSOs.
Yeah. Anyway, it's possible, right? To have it in Jakarta, right? I think we have conversations about more than 1 hour. So, for what's next? What's your plan next for the? Do you have any plan to capture any objects in the near future? Going to some places, the more quiet one.
Yeah, I think I always do. Okay, so my plans. I think by now. I mean, I've done a lot of imaging of the planets like this. So, and I won't stop doing that. When they're available, when they're in a good position. But there are many other things, and I would like to start to get better at DSO imaging. I've done a little bit, and I think my first target would be galaxies. I just like the idea of trying to take images of galaxies. Of course, the famous one that everyone must know about is Andromeda. Andromeda is huge. So in the night sky, it's like about 6 moons across. But we can't see it with our eyes. We have to use special cameras. But then there are many other galaxies. And for me, I think it's something special about looking at a galaxy. I mean, you look at a galaxy and you're seeing something with billions of stars in it. So I think I'm more excited about galaxies than nebulae. Some people spend their whole life taking pictures of nebulae, and you see beautiful colored pictures, and you see the Horsehead Nebula and the Orion Nebula, and they're lovely pictures. I like them, but I think for myself, my next target is going to be galaxies.
Galaxy. I don't want to capture that where. I mean, is there a special?
Well, luckily, where we have our villa in Tanjung Lesung is an obvious place. But there are some darker sky sites in Indonesia. Probably the south coast is pretty dark. If you look at you can get these apps that show you maps of the sky quality. South coast of Java, probably quite good actually. And there are some quiet places, maybe around not far from Pelabuhan Ratu and places like that. Yeah, so it possibly you've got to carry all your equipment there. It's quite heavy.
Yeah, that's gonna be a beautiful picture to take there. So
it would be.
Yeah. Okay, but Mike, good luck with your next plan to go to the south coast to capture the galaxy. I think that's we're looking for. I'm curious to know the results as well.
Well, thank you, Mutia. Well, thank you very much for all of your very nice questions you've asked today. I hope things will come across clearly to everybody. But it's been very interesting to talk about this because it's a hobby I've grown to love over quite a short length of time, and I would urge people, if they're excited about it, and come along to events with HHJ because they can look in telescopes and get excited about it, because looking up at the night sky is just something special, and recording some of it for your memories, like these pictures, also special. So
I also learned a lot, and it's lovely to hear your story. So thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you too.
Yeah.